Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the shutdown. I know it's kind of been a while, and it feels like it's been forever for me too. But I'm very glad to be back. University kind of got in the way of me doing this to the level I wanted to do it. And I'm the type of person I want to do something 110% of the way. I don't like doing things halfway. It's never been my thing. And I've kind of learned a lot more of how to kind of make this slightly better with what I got. So I'm hoping to make this a little bit better for everyone that listens into this. But we're back, and I'm not going to be back on a regular basis, but I would like to say we will be back on a semi-regular basis. I'm going to upload podcasts usually after NHRA race weekends, and after if we have some major breaking news that needs to be discussed, that will be uploaded too. But this week we got a lot of stuff that's going on. We can recap the Epping finals. We're going to recap Bristol. We got some storylines leaving the weekend. Ned Walliser getting removed from the competition director position. And we're going to talk about some of the upcoming events that will be happening in the fall. With that, let's get into the first part of the podcast. Now, going into this race at Bristol, there was kind of a lot of new things that were going into this race. Number one, the track surface was repaved. I believe it was the first 600 feet of the racetrack was officially repaved. I don't really know what to think on this because, on one hand, I did like the fact that Bristol was characteristically bumpy. Also, I'm not the one in the racetrack going 200 to 300 miles an hour. So, I'm of the opinion that if it was truly that dangerous for the drivers, which again, I don't know, I'd have to talk with one of them, but if it was truly that dangerous, then I'd say the repave did its job. But I do like that Bristol, before, had a lot of character. Sort of like NASCAR drivers going to Bristol or Darlington. Tracks that are really hard to drive. They're different. It was kind of unique for us. Going into this weekend, that certainly changed a lot of the storylines going in. Because it was essentially a new track surface. It was kind of like going to when we went to MIR in South Georgia. It was a totally new experience for the teams. And you kind of saw that through qualifying. The first session, I saw a lot of people on Facebook, because God forbid people on Facebook use common sense. They're complaining about, they spent $100 million, which I doubt the repave cost $100 million. But okay, they spent all this money for the track to not be good, blah, 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 blah. As if these people are going to, nail it the first time. I mean, I would like to know if they've done anything for the first time and got it correct. I'm going to assume no. So, with that being said, I don't really think that the teams were... I mean, I do think we do have a crew chief problem in some aspects where they like to push the envelope a little bit too hard sometimes when the track clearly can't take it. But they figured out the track pretty quickly. By Saturday, it was kind of a known commodity. Everyone kind of was getting down okay. And it led to some great racing, especially on Sunday, despite the rain. But before we kind of talk about, Sunday, we got to talk about the Epping finals that actually happened at this race for some reason. The weather did not cooperate in Epping, and again, I hate it for those fans because, the Epping fan base always shows up year after year after year. They're one of the most supportive fan bases in NHRA, and I always love when we go to that place because it's packed, it looks good on TV, which is kind of again, why I like that we're going to venues like that. We're going to South Georgia, we're going to MIR, we're going to be going to Rockingham, US 131. Those smaller racetracks, we can pack them. We're not packing Chicago anymore. That's just a fact. But you go to places like that, you will pack them. People want to show up. People love to go to venues like that to witness this sport. And I think Epping is proof of that year after year. So again, it just sucks that they don't get their, finals. But at the end of the day, it was a good race when we were in Epping. And the finals were pretty good too in Bristol. And we'll kind of start that off with the Pro Stock final because I don't want to leave them out. Matt Hartford versus Dallas Gunn. Pro Stock this year has really just been the story of which KB car wants to make it to the finals more often than not. Hartford has been in so many finals, Dallas Glenn too. He goes 002 on Matt Hartford. That is why Dallas Glenn is who he is. That right there, that is what makes a race car driver in this sport. Being able to cut really good lights consistently. And that is proof of it right there. He gets the win over Matt Hartford. That was the only final that was actually ran in Epping of the Mission Food Series. And then we go on to Top Fuel in Epping, where Leah Pruitt gets her first win back, her first win as a mom. And, it's a very special moment, I imagine, for that team, especially for Leah. She's improved massively since the start of the season. Her reaction times at the start of the season, I'm just going to be blunt, they were bad. They were bad. She's slowly been chipping away at it. She's slowly been getting better. I guess that's kind of what happens when you're out the race car for 2 years. But she's been slowly getting better, and that is the results of that right there. That whole team did not miss a beat when Tony Stewart was in that car. Tony Stewart was obviously really competitive right away. They did not miss a beat and put Leah right back in the winner's circle. I'm honestly shocked that this didn't happen sooner with how good that car's been. But Leah and also the thing is, I've heard a lot of people say, like, is this the end of the Coletta reign? I don't think so. I think Sean Langdon and the Coletta guys are going to be just fine. That's kind of the thing with NHRA, and Brian Karate brought this up in an interview he did with Joe Costello on NHRA TV, and he literally just basically mentioned, we're testing all year. That's what he said. To be exactly what we are testing all year. In other words, and that just shows how bad the format is. I don't know how we still have this format, and I'm going to keep bringing it up more as we get closer to the countdown, because normally when we had the top 10 cutoff, this is kind of the time of year where we would start be talking about the top 10, who can make it, who cannot. Like, is this person in danger? And now we just lost all of that. We don't have any of that anymore. And I know most people who have common sense in this sport hate it. I know all the media hates it, because I know, like, all of you very talented media members want something to talk about, and they basically took it away from you. You have no storylines now in the regular season, besides, like, if a driver gets a new seat, some shakeup happens, like, you have nothing to talk about leading up to the countdown. It is a glorified test session, which is kind of ironic that NHRA stuck their nose up to the first pro race and called it a test session. Meanwhile, their series is 14 test sessions in the regular season. I'll say plus Indy, because I think a lot of drivers want to win Indy. So 13 test sessions plus Indy, which is like a big independent race, basically. Like, you took a lot of the glitz and glam. I'm not going to say that because Indy's still Indy, but you took a lot of that battle for the top 10 Indy, which is like something I grew up with. My generation grew up with that battle going into Indy. I remember this time of year when I was a kid, looking at the top 10, seeing who's going to get in, seeing who's not going to get in. There were so many, like, some of the most iconic moments of NHRA in recent memory are because of the countdown, of people not making that top 10. There were so many iconic moments, and they just took it away. For teams that aren't even doing anything with the countdown spots that they get. Like, these teams that you were letting in don't even do anything. They suck, to be blunt. Okay? They're not doing anything. So why are we letting these guys in? What is being gained for the sport? Are they real? Is their sponsors really happy that they're getting into the playoffs so they can then be garbage in the playoffs? Really? Is this what we're doing? Are they really happy about that? I don't know. I've never seen any sport that operates like that in my life. Like, let's just let the Carolina Panthers get into the playoffs when they're losing every game. Let's just let the Cleveland Browns get in and they can do nothing. Like, it doesn't make sense. It never will make sense. I don't care who tries to defend this. Anyone on the planet, it doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be around. It needs to go away. And NHRA, you are in TV negotiations now. Do you really think your TV provider isn't going to want, like, the drama of the top 10 back? I know we do as the fan base. And, I mean, at least the fans that understand it, because most NHRA's fan base doesn't seem to understand a thing that goes on in this sport. But at least the ones who are in the know definitely want it back, or they just want the countdown gone. I'm personally not in that crowd. I like the countdown. Like I said, I grew up with it. I wouldn't want to see it go away, but at this point, anything's better than this participation nonsense we have right now. I'd genuinely rather see Austin Prock win the championship, or whoever win the championship by Indy, than whatever we have now, this slop that we have now. And Brian Karate just went out and said it, and people have kind of been exploiting it. Sean Reed at Charlotte basically ran the 2 qualifying sessions, just 2 at the minimum, because that's the rule that you need to get to make the participation countdown. Run 2 qualifying sessions at each race. You will get in. So he basically played that really smart. Again, I'm not hating on the drivers and the teams for doing this. They're just exploiting the format that's in front of them. And it's time. It's time, NHRA. This was a nice experiment. You tried it for 6 years. It hasn't increased car count. It hasn't done anything. It has failed at every objective it was supposed to do. It's time to go. It needs to go. Let's stop this nonsense. And, sorry for the participation countdown rant. You're going to get a lot of that because, we're getting into that time of year where, normally we'd be talking about stuff like this. But unfortunately, we are not. Anyways, The funny car final from Epping. Jack Beckman goes up against Jordan Vandergrift. Jordan smokes the tires. Jack Beckman gets the win, his first win in over a year. I'm honestly not shocked. I feel like if this final was ran in Epping, I feel like Jordan smokes him, for lack of better words. But even Jack left on him in this final too. So it just shows how that experience navigating a new surface matters in the grand scheme of things. And Jack Beckman obviously has, years and years of experience. So he kind of put the rookie, even though I don't even think he's technically a rookie, now on to eliminations in Bristol. They obviously started a little bit earlier, which seems like it's honestly kind of routine at this point. I can't wait for the day we get our normal like West Coasters and East Coasters. Give me my 1 o'clock start times again. That would be amazing. But yeah, we are back. Another 10 a.m. start in Bristol, and teams should start throwing down in first round for this new surface. For the teams that supposedly didn't have it figured out on Friday, by Sunday, they definitely had it figured out. And the story of Funny Car this weekend, honestly, even though Matt Hagan won the race, was Dan Wilkerson. I thought it was gonna be his day. I'm sitting at home. I'm like, we're going to get an interview, and this interview might not end. They're going to have to call Fox and extend the TV window because this dude's going to get out of the car on the top end, and he's just going to yap for hours. And that did not happen. Matt Hagan got the win. Dan Wilkerson smoked the tires. But, that car is very close. And Dan Wilkerson is actually the best driver in Funny Car right now on average reaction time. So the car is good. That's like kind of like the case with Skag and like all their teams. They have like elite levers. Like you have Justin Ashley and Will Smith in top fuel, and then you have Dan Wilkerson, funny car. But the cars just aren't there right now. And I think that on a hot racetrack, I think this is kind of expected of Tim Wilkerson, especially as the day went on, it got hotter. I think this is kind of expected of him. That's kind of what his whole trick has been his whole career. But again, in the era we live in, with the countdown, station rule, you gotta be good in the cool weather conditions. That's really when it counts. That's when we're giving out trophies that, give out points that mean something. So you gotta be good in the cool weather conditions. And they haven't really shown that they are. They can't really throw down like, Caps, Hagen, even Proc in some instances when they get there. I do think that Proc team is they're getting there. They are definitely getting there. Again, like I said, you gotta be good by, formerly Maple Grove, now US 131. You gotta be good then. So they're slowly chipping away at it, getting better. And I think the Proc team are definitely going to be in the conversation for the championship. I know a lot of people are probably going to be like, whoa, they're not even that close. I think they will be. I don't think people understand the amount of work that's going into the Proc team. They're not just rebuilding that car. They're rebuilding like the whole shop. They basically want to turn Tasker Racing into what they had at John Force Racing. They want in-house stuff, in-house engine programs, in-house this, in-house that, just like they had at John Force Racing. They'll be fine, okay? Trust me, they will be fine. And even Ron Capps too. I thought Ron Capps was gonna have a good day too, and he did. He made the semifinal round, but especially for him getting inducted into the Thunder Valley Hall of Fame, which I didn't realize. I put out when I was making a graphic before the race about like the most recent winners at Bristol. I didn't realize how much wins Capps had basically over everyone else in the past 10 years. It is kind of insane at this track. Like he has owned this place for a while in Funny Car. It's kind of not even funny. But Matt Hagan ends up getting the win in Bristol, and it just kind of shows Funny Car has been such a dogfight this year amongst the top of the field. They're kind of like the tale of two stories. Top field is kind of like the Coletta guys are running away with it, and Funny Car is just, absolute bloodbath with the top five. They are going at it back and forth, and the points lead's already changed a few times, and it looked like Caps had it for like a bit, and now he doesn't as much. He's kind of fell back a little bit. Hagen's kind of making a charge up. It's just insane. I put out a graphic on my social media platforms where you'll be able to see like a line graph of the standings going up until Bristol for the past 5 races. And it truly just shows like Jack Beckman had like an awful start to the season. He was not doing that good. And he went from like 7th all the way up till 5th now, and he climbed his way all the way up. It's genuinely impressive. They've got it together. And Jordan Vandergrift too. Jordan Vandergrift has consistently kind of floated around the top 5. He's always been there. And I think you would be wrong to assume that Jordan Vandergrift can't contend for a championship. I think he absolutely can. Honestly, he might be the favorite. I have no idea. This is categories very hard to predict. At least top fuel, you can kind of say that Coletta are the favorites. I know that a lot of teams are testing him. We're probably not seeing what they actually got, but at least in top fuel, you can say Sean Langdon and Doug Coletta are the clear favorites. They've been running the best since preseason testing, and they're still running the best now. Funny car, I have no idea. I'm honestly shocked JR hasn't gotten a win yet. That car's been so good. They just been really unlucky, or sometimes they make mistakes and it costs them. But that team has been consistently so good, and they just haven't gotten one yet. I mean, again, maybe they pull what they did in 2018. They just go on a run in the countdown. But I think that JR is definitely one of the favorites. Um, but I could think you could pick any of these guys. You could pick any of the top 5 right now in Funny Car, and if you told me they won the championship, I would not be surprised. That's how competitive Funny Car is right now. It's pretty ridiculous. It is the class to watch this year. Top Fuel might have been the class to watch last year with the Procs kind of running over everyone. But Funny Car is the class to watch this year. It now on the Top Fuel, and it's definitely been an interesting season in Top Fuel with the Coletta cars kind of pulling away from everyone. One team that I'm kind of shocked about is Josh Hart. They haven't really been, especially with the speeds that they had with Brittany Force. Again, maybe they're just testing, all of our great teams do in this time of the year with the participation countdown. But I still think that team, I expected them to be competitive immediately just because Josh Hart, on paper, is a better driver than Brittany Force based on the reaction times. And he's certainly shown that. I mean, he treated Doug Coletta in the first round, but, just didn't have the race car to get around him. And Doug Coletta, honestly, this is sort of like a teacher versus student thing with him and Brian Houston and Sean Langdon right now. And the student is certainly showing up the teacher right now. Brian Houston has been the talk of the season. Him and Sean Langdon been running over everyone, but they didn't run over everyone today. Antron Brown got the win. I guess all the testing that Brian Karate was talking about paid off because now they have a Diamond Wally. I personally think that, like I said before, the Coletta cars certainly aren't out of it. This was kind of like a weird new surface. Probably not going to really see a racetrack like this again in the countdown. So to be not good here isn't really that meaningful. And I hate to say it, but it's true. Tony Stewart had kind of like an oddball run in the semifinals where he had a .244 light, and I guess anytime your light starts with point something that isn't 0, it's typically not that good. And, he ended up going up in smoke and didn't make a full run anyways. So I'm curious what kind of happened there. I don't know if anything was ever mentioned of what happened on that particular run. And then Doug Coletta had a case of tire smoke against Antron Brown and let Antron Brown go right into the final rounds, where then he received the leave on and outrun Sean Langdon, which this year that's pretty impressive. And this is something I was talking about with someone last night. It's how Sean Langdon is very good at changing his reaction times based on who he's racing. And it's something I noticed, and it's kind of weird because you always hear the drivers in interviews say, "Oh, we don't pay attention using the other lane. We race the racetrack. This." You hear that a lot, but then you see stuff like that, and it's they do know. They do know who's in the other lane. We did I'm gonna put out a stat on it in a bit, but we went back because me and my buddy Nick are doing a bunch of stats on stuff this year, to kind of look into all the different numbers, and we went back and we looked at his reaction time against the top 5 levers in the class. It's significantly lower. You can tell they're definitely that's in their head. It's in his head at least that they're thinking about who's in the other lane. And it's cool. And it's not a bad thing. It's honestly cool. It's what people do in every sport. You think in a football game, the defensive coordinator isn't studying that dude's offense for a week. They are. That's what they do. That's what happens in sports. And it's cool. It's something that could be talked about. It's a storyline. So I don't want the teams and drivers to kind of think this is a bad thing. It's cool. I like it. I like talking about it. And that's why I'm going to post stuff about it. Because I think more people need to learn about this. A lot of people don't really know about this because Grand R sanctioning body doesn't really tell us anything about it. So I think that there is pretty interesting. And then again, Tony Stewart with Elite, like I said, okay race day. I mean, I think this sport doesn't really credit like going through the rounds as much as they should. Like this stuff is hard. Like I don't even race, but I can tell you that this stuff is hard. Like making it to the semifinals alone should be an accomplishment. I mean, obviously you get the points, but again, era we live in don't really mean much. But getting to the semifinals is hard. Like it's a big deal. And Tony Stewart makes the semifinals for a team that is new. Like Mike Green, whatever he's did, Elite Motorsports, whatever Richard Freeman's got over there, certainly, certainly very good. And Mike Green was with Justin Ashley that last year and didn't even really have like this amount of success early, especially when you consider the fact that it's a new team. You know, I think this kind of shows like the parts that you get matter a lot. I don't know what's going on over at Skag, but they just clearly have an issue where the cars just aren't there. And the drivers, it's weird because they have like the best drivers in all their classes. They have Will Smith, they have Justin Ashley, and they have Daniel Wilkerson. Like they're the they're best leavers in their class. And they just don't do anything with them. So I hope, if anything, Skag turns like I said, turn around in the countdown and start running 360s every session, because that's kind of what they're gonna need in that time of year to be competitive against the Sean Langdons, the Doug Colettas. Even if you have Justin Ashley in the car, he can't be Superman forever, right? They're kind of like in the equivalent right now of like if you took Tom Brady and stuck him on like an NFL team where the offensive line really wasn't that great, and you're just expecting your quarterback to kind of like do everything. You can't do everything. You can't always be Superman. And Justin Ashley, while last year there were some races like Indy last year sticks out to me, that race will always stick out to me because of this. He was Superman that day. He took down like everyone off of just him. His reaction time took down everyone. It was kind of insane. And it was something so cool that I'm always going to remember. And it's because like this sport has kind of been predominantly the car for a while. So it's super cool when the driver has a bit of influence. And that day was really cool, and I'll always remember that. But again, congrats to Antron Brown and team for winning in Bristol. And now we move on. The next race is Norwalk. And I've heard some things happening. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not going to, talk about them unless they're already out in public domain. But I've heard some things that might be happening around this time of year. So expect some cool news in the upcoming weeks. It's going to be a good one. I always love Norwalk. I mean, I've never been. It's one track I need to go to before I die. Bader is the man. And, I hope to go someday. But before we end off the Bristol recap, I do want to talk about the Safety Safari. Again, they are the absolute MVPs of the NHRA, and they showed it again this weekend. I posted a photo on I posted on my Instagram story, and I posted on my my X account of like the rain after first. They didn't even complete first round all the way. It was like halfway through first round in the Mission Food Series classes. It was the track had running water on it. It looked like a swamp. Like any other drag racing series, they're not getting that race in. Or if they're getting it in, it's done at 11 o'clock at night. NHRA had the race done by 5. No other drag racing series on planet Earth is doing that. And that right there is what I think makes NHRA so good. They can get races in consistently and quickly. We live in 2026. People don't want to sit at the drag strip, and I tell this a lot to the IHRA fanboys, and they get mad at me for it for some reason. Like, people don't want to spend 20 hours at the racetrack anymore. Those days are gone. Maybe they did that in the 90s. That's fine. But it's not the 90s anymore. It's 2026. People don't want to do that anymore. And NHRA is the best at putting on a show in the quickest amount of time. An average Sunday race day at NHRA is like 6 hours, 5 hours maybe. Like, it's real, unless something dramatic happens, obviously that's out of their control. But they're on it all the time. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, they bump classes. Well, that's what people show up for, okay? I'm sorry, the average fan in the stand doesn't want to see the Super Street Finals. They want to see Top Fuel, they want to see Funny Car, and some of them want to see Pro Stock. Like, now one big storyline that happened into this weekend is Ned Walliser stepping down or getting removed of his position of competition director of the NHRA. It might not even actually be called competition director, to be honest. They have so much corporate lingo where it's like blah 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 position, blah blah blah. It's kind of insane. But Ned Walliser no longer the official competition director of NHRA. And I will say this should have happened years ago, or especially last year. I mean, there was so much stuff that happened last year where you're just like, what are we doing? And a lot of that was the Tony Stewart penalty last year, that whole deal, which again, I don't know how this was allowed to even happen, but it did, and it shouldn't have happened. It should be, we are professional motorsport, and according to Sean Langdon in his win at Seattle last year, the dude's not even at the track half the time. So, what are we doing? What's the deal here? Like, how is this allowed? I have no clue. Anyways, I believe NHRA made the right decision here. Josh Peterson gets promoted into what was formerly Ned Walliser's role, and I think that this is a good move going forward. I'm curious how Josh is going to do the penalties and such, because we need that transparency. Last year made no sense. You blasted Sean Langdon for getting 4 bolts loose, which, okay, I get it. It's against the rules. You can DQ him all you want. That's fine. But then Tony Stewart runs something that we still don't even know, and you let him get away with it. And you let him you don't even say anything about it. You put out a small thing on NHRA Racer, and that's it. That's pathetic. You put out a whole press release. You blasted Sean Langdon for it. You blasted Elite for it. And that should be the standard, right? We're a professional motorsport. Every professional motorsport talks about their penalties in public eye. We should be the same, right? No professional motorsport hides their stuff. If NASCAR pulled something like that, they'd get clowned relentlessly. But our fan base doesn't really know what's going on half the time. They're just like, oh, loud car noise. They don't really know about all the stuff that's happening behind the scenes. But they would get clowned if they pulled something like that. We should not be pulling stuff like that. That stuff is unacceptable, and I hope Josh Peterson going into this role puts transparency at a big part. Because ultimately, it's storylines too. Like stuff that happens in the tech department. It's like that in every other motorsport when something happens in tech. It's always talked about. It's always discussed. And, we need to join that club too. And Ned Wallace or whoever was in charge of making that happen did not make it easy to happen. So that needs to be massively changed. And at the end of the day, again, when you're not at the racetrack, when you are a tech director, I think that, no words. Like, just, how is this allowed to go on for as long as it did? But, at the end of the day, I think this is a good move for the future of the sport. And according to Sean Langdon on Twitter, everyone agreed with that. So I think the opinion checks out. We kind of know what the deal is here. So I'm kind of happy this happened. Now on to the final segment of the show, which I am calling In the Lanes. And this segment's basically going to be recapping drag races that are upcoming this weekend across the world of drag racing. Obviously, I'm not going to mention everything, so just because I didn't mention your little niche race that's happening here doesn't mean that I forgot about it. That doesn't mean it's not important. It's just not national, and it's really hard to remember. It's hard to bring up every single drag race. So I'm just going to mention some of the big ones. And this weekend in Norwalk, the Cavalcade of Stars, the Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series, goes into Norwalk. Again, anything that Bader touches or Bader is involved in is usually great. So I hope everyone going. I think one of my buddies is going. So hope you all have a good time there because that's going to be fun. IHRA Triple Crown. I think it's at a Dorena Raceway. I think it's at National Trail, or what was National Trail. So they'll be there. Hope people there have fun. I mean, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day, but hope those guys have fun. Guys and girls have fun out there. And I just want to say thank you guys for listening to this first episode. If you did listen, if you made it this far throughout all the chaos, I thank you. I've been feeling under the weather, which is probably why I sound like I'm not correct here. But I figured, it has to be done. So we went and recorded today. So thank you guys for listening. Maybe we'll see you guys after the next race, which is Norwalk in a couple of weeks. So thank you guys for listening, and peace out.